Super Rugby Trans-Tasman Friday game. We have the Hurricanes and the Force. Remember, we're still waiting to see what's going to happen with the Highlanders and the Rebels, with Melbourne, Victoria having COVID restrictions. So the bubble between New Zealand and Australia is at least suspended for Victoria. And the Rebels decided to go back across the ditch after their last game over here. So they're maybe stuck there for the moment. But anyway, the game that we do have is the Hurricanes and the Force. Force have flown over from Western Australia. They've gone none from two at home, but their sixth place showing shows that they have been the most impressive of the three Aussie teams. They haven't had any out-and-out hidings. They came within a kick of beating the Chiefs, and they lost by 10 to the Highlanders. But that was at home, and that was with the advantage of having teams have to fly all the way out to Perth. Now the shoe's on the other foot. The Hurricanes are at home, albeit in Napier, so it's kind of a home away from home for the Hurricanes, but at least they won't have any travel factor affecting them. They are second actually at the moment, but remember them and the Blues, who are 1 and 2 in the New Zealand Conference, amongst the New Zealand teams, have played the two worst teams from Super Rugby AU, which was the Tars and the Rebels. So this could be a bit of a wake-up call for the Hurricanes. Likewise, it could be a bit of a wake-up call from the Force. We'll kind of have to wait and see how it plays out. We'll go over the teams quickly, some of the stats, and the predictions, and you guys can let me know your thoughts on how this one's going to play out. For the Hurricanes, they've made a few changes. They're resting a few guys. They've got Numia, Aumua, and Lomax as the front row. So Aumua is getting the start. Coles is being rested. Walker-Leawere is back alongside Scrafton in the locks. Prinsep is captain at 6, Kirifi's at 7, and Gareth Evans gets a crack at the number 8 jersey coming up from the bench. There's no Flanders in the squad this week. Campbell's also back after being rested last week. Orbyn Ledger's at 10. That's the 19 combo, Laumape, and Umaga-Jensen is 12 and 13. Rayasi is back on the wing, and remember, he in one game was pretty devastating. He's like one of the stats leaders despite only playing one game. Goosen, after a good week last week, moves from the left wing to the right wing. There's no Savea, as in Julian, this week. And Jordie Barrett still there at fullback. Riccitelli gets a start on the bench with Coles being rested. Rakete-Stones, Fidow, Blackwell. Ardie, Savea is back after a long injury layoff, so great news for the Canes. Roigard, Proctor, and Asafo is also back after we haven't seen him play for the Canes for what seems like ages. So pretty good news all around for the Canes. A bit of variation, but good to see some of their kind of old hands back and getting a crack at this one. For the Force, likewise, a bit of rotation. Robertson, Ardie, and Medrano is the front row. It's pretty much always been Kaitu'u as the hooker, and he has been class, but Ardie gets a start, and Kaitu'u drops to the bench. Thrush is back, which is good news. Former Canes man, he'll be keen to get a crack at some of his old teammates, although it's been a while. I don't know how many of those guys would have actually played with him, seeing as how long he's been away. Timani is there as well. Thrush is really good at the line-out. He's a very good line-out taker, but also stealer, so the Canes will have to be aware. Lee Warner moves to 6, Koteka's at 7, and Anstey's at 8, so that's a lot of tackles in that back row, and it's traditionally been what the Force have done really well. Their defence has been the most solid of all the Aussie teams, which is not something you say lightly. A lot of the Aussie teams have been pretty shocking, but the Force have really held their hands up. Kubeli and Mioti's the 19 combo, so McIntyre, I think, has got concussion after last week, so Mioti gets a start. Not a bad thing. I know he's not the long-term guy for the Force, given he's leaving, but I think he's the current guy. So it's good to see him get a run alongside his countryman Kubeli. Godwin and Kahui is the midfield. Godwin is captain for this one. Olawafela, Pulu, and Ngani is the back three. Remember, Pulu's back after a suspension, so good to see him back. Pretty experienced, and then Olawafela is the youngster kind of out on the left wing. He's had a few cracking games and a few quiet ones, so kind of flip a coin and see which way this one goes, see if he gets some ball. Kaitu'u, Wagner, Holmes, Macaulay, Stunda are the forward replacements. Pryor, McGregor, and Tavita Kurandrani is back. So also a good guy to have back for the Force. Like some good guys to have back for the Canes and the likes of Savea and Asafo, but also Kurandrani is a pretty good guy to have back as well. The travel may be a factor for the Force. It'll kind of have to... We're going to have to wait and see on that one. The Hurricanes, like I said, they're at home, but it's not their traditional home. They play there once every couple of years, I think. I seem to remember them going down to the wire against one team and Ihaya West having to kick a last-minute penalty to win it. I'm pretty sure that was at Napier. So just that little bit of, unfamiliarity about the ground, the dimensions and maybe the changing rooms and all that stuff. Just it's a little bit less familiar, although some of these guys for the Canes would play for Hawke's Bay as well. My dad's coming around, so we should be doing a live stream with him during this game if you guys want to do kind of a watch along. But in terms of the predictions, the bookies have got the Canes comfortably by 21, and the Rugby Forecast algorithm has got the Canes comfortably by 18. Forgot to mention the stats. The stats head-to-head, the Hurricanes are the top try-scoring team with 15. The Force are 9th out of 10 teams with 5. But remember, that place on the log shows that they've not been all about the scoring, but they've been largely defensively pretty strong. Clean breaks first against 8th, 44-12. The Hurricanes have been running riot. Carries, though, is 3rd against 2nd. The Force have a lot of ball. Always they have a lot of ball. It's just more like that kind of battering ram style than necessarily generating a heck of a lot of clean breaks and defenders beaten. So they will try to suffocate you, the Force. Tackling percentage, the Canes somehow are at 91% despite conceding 40-odd points to the Waratahs. I think in that game there was a lot of guys who just got clean breaks. There wasn't even a tackle to be missed. The Force are 88% top Aussie team, top half of the comp. Interestingly, the Canes scrum is rated at 100% still after 2 games, whereas the Force is the bottom side with 80%. So 1 in 5 not going their way. As I mentioned, clean breaks being a thing for the Canes. Julian Savea, who's not playing, but Proctor and Rayasi generate a lot of those. Carries, as I mentioned, for the Force. Fergus Lee-Warner and Kyle Godwin are their 2 main guys for that one. So it's a good clash of 2 different styles. Will the Canes' slick offense be able to continue its work and cut the Force to the bits, or will the Force prove a little bit more than what the Tars and Rebels were for the Canes to try and handle? You guys let me know your thoughts. Hopefully I'll see some of you guys for the watch along, and I'll talk to you again soon. See you later.